Put your clothes back on.
Your wet clothes will be the death of you.
I'm fine.
Suit yourself. Are all Thruskella so prudish?
Are all Bruges so immodest?
I'm just trying to stay warm. You should join me. Unless you swam all those miles just to freeze to death in this hut.
Hey, I'm Derek.
And I'm Noah, and you're listening to A Bite Of,
where we take our current favorite pop culture obsession and we enjoy it one nibble at a time.
Yes, and this episode is your ticket safely on a raft with Nina and Matthias.
Safely? That boat is messed up.
So we continue our coverage of Shadow and Bone. We're finally at the 6th episode, way over the hump of the show, and we're getting there. We're getting towards the end.
3/4.
Yep.
For math's sake.
So before we get into it, make sure you leave us that rating and review. Give us those 5 stars. Tell us how you like the show. Let us know what your favorite season has been so far, or what you would like us to cover, even though we have pretty much most of the stuff already planned out. So also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of that good stuff. Keep up with us on the daily. Know special stuff about us. Hear from you. You know, that kind of thing.
This is just turning into a little love letter.
Yeah. All at abiteofpod.com.
Yeah. And don't forget about the little giveaway we're doing.
Yes. So you have until the 27th, right? 27th. Yes. Check calendar. Correct. 27th. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and we are giving away a special collector's edition of Shadow and Bone. It is sexy.
Oh, it's gold.
It is.
It's shiny.
Yeah. It's really pretty. It's in a nice, like, very durable slip cover.
It'll look great on your coffee table.
Actually true.
Right?
I saw it and I was like, do we have to give this away?
Put it on your coffee table, get a candle, have some chocolate. Romantic.
Yeah.
All right. So as always, before we go forward, let us take a look back. So in Shadow and Bone, episode 5, called Show Me Who You Are, things went down at the Fate. The crows made it to the little palace and set their sights on grabbing the Sun Summoner, while Jesper had some fun in the stables.
Wow.
Alina wore the black kefta and put on a light show for the aristocracy, not to mention she had some fun with the Darkling.
You.
Mal made it to share the news of the stag, but actually had an awkward meeting with Kiergan. Then, just when Alina thinks things are going her way, Bagra tells her the Darkling is the black heretic and she better run. Luckily for the crows, she decides to stow in their very wagon.
Yeah, it was a really easy capture for them. She literally walked into their trap.
Wah, wah, for her, but yay for them. All right, and of course, spoiler warning. We're warning you, there will be spoilers.
Lots of them for the show.
So let us officially take a bite of Shadow and Bone, episode 6, The Heart is an Arrow.
Pew, pew, pew.
Yeah.
Pew. That's not what arrows make, but you get the point.
Sometimes in video games they do.
True.
Beep, boop, beep.
All right. So we are going to talk about Nina and Matthias right at the top, because their story is kind of sprinkled throughout this episode. And why not just talk about them in the beginning? Get them out of the way, and then we can talk about the crows and Alina and General Kiergan.
All their stuff is like interweaving.
Exactly.
Whereas Nina and Matthias are just hanging out somewhere cold.
Yeah, they're freezing their asses off. Where we meet them in this episode, 2 episodes ago, there was talk about the storm and it could possibly destroy the boat. The storm destroyed the boat.
It hellaciously tore it to shreds.
We see no boat in this episode. We just see Nina struggling to stay above water. She finds this piece of wreckage, and none other than Matthias is on this floating piece of wreckage.
Yeah, it gives me very Jack and Rose feelings from Titanic.
Of course. I mean, it's not a door, and it seems smaller than in Titanic, so there's no excuse for Rose.
That's what I'm saying. And it's also, this seems much colder. I mean, granted, she has little science powers, but still.
She gets on there, and Matthias is not waking up. She uses her heart-rending abilities to wake him up. She speeds up his heart, kind of warms him up, gets him up. And he's like, witch.
How dare you?
Save me.
Yeah.
Okay, warning. There is tons of tropes with Nina and Matthias. And one of them is 2 enemies now need to work together to survive. So he needs her powers to keep him alive and warm, and she needs him for his legs to swim and push them to land.
Yeah. It's like in a cartoon when they like, I don't know, wind Bugs Bunny's ears and then his legs become some sort of engine. Very that.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's kind of this thing. He at first is saying to her, like, no, you're going to kill me. And she's like, bro, I would have slowed your heart down and killed you, not sped it up to bring you back alive.
I mean, could it like sped it up to explode?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to bring you back, say hi to you, and then kill you.
Exactly.
She's like, work with me here. And he finally acquiesces and is like, all right, I guess we need to live.
So they eventually make it to land. And we also find out that Nina knows 6 languages.
Because she's a badass bitch. I mean, that's really the moral of Nina's story. She's like, work with me here. I know what I'm doing. I'm awesome. I'm smart. I'm talented. Stop being a jerk.
Right. He's still trying to control the situation and still like, you're my prisoner and I'm your captor. And she's like, okay.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
How's that working out for you? Is it going well?
You're welcome.
They eventually make it to this hut. I guess was already there. I do not believe that Matthias built it, but they stumbled upon it.
Yeah, the amount of animals he would have had to kill in one afternoon because it's just pelt upon pelt upon pelt. I'm saying, I was like, okay, this must be some sort of Fjordan hunting hut.
Yeah.
That are just there for people to use.
I agree.
Or Airbnb.
Yeah.
It was a very nice tiny home if you're into very rustic, animalistic things.
It was a little too rustic for me. I like those like barny, rustic, modern ones, but this one was not for me. Too much animals.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
There's a lot of hide.
So they get there and Nina tells him that he needs to take off his wet clothes because everybody knows that if you have wet clothes on and you're cold, it's just going to continue to make you wet. It's not going to keep you warm. You actually have to take off your clothes to then get warm.
Right.
And he's being very modish and bashful, and she's already pretty much naked. She's just like, okay, I'm going to get
she's
warm.
like, I'm not going to freeze.
Exactly. He begrudgingly finally takes off his clothes, and they're still kind of bickering at each other, going back and forth. She's very pokey. She pokes at him a lot, and she likes to kind of make fun of him. She likes to make him turn red, as she says.
Yeah.
There's one moment where it looks like she turns around and she gets a little peek at him, and she's like, as she's talking about how there's nothing special about Fjordan men, and she's like, oh, okay, well, I mean, maybe this one? I don't know.
For once, we see Nina go a little red in the cheek.
Yeah.
But then she quickly calms herself and is like, just get in bed with me.
Yeah, they wrap each other in fur. She uses her powers to keep him warm. I do want to say the chemistry between these two actors and what they convey with the characters is pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's great. He does act a little standoffish, which he should. But the moment where she uses her powers to keep him warm when they get into bed together and him grabbing her arm,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that just it felt natural. Like it didn't feel like it was part of the script. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like the actor portrayal. I think, though, that we as the viewer have to sort of lean into the fact that we think that Matthias had an attraction to her on the boat.
Right.
Because this is happening. I mean, this whole episode for these two characters is showing them come together in some sort of way, whether it's romantic or not. But we have to be willing to take a step back and be like, okay, there must have been an attraction there beforehand for him to be going along with her and then feel such feelings for her and get into bed naked with her.
Exactly. I mean, I just want them to smooch already. It's just
totally.
like this episode, I feel like, is the will they smooch already with Alina and Mal and Nina and Matthias. Just kiss already.
Yeah.
Jesus.
You know what this is sort of giving me vibes of? It's very like Jon Snow and the you-know-nothing Jon Snow.
Oh, right.
Woman.
The redhead.
Yeah, the wildling,
Yeah.
right? Like they're like in the snow. They're trying not to like each other, but the attraction is there. They can't help it.
Well, that's true. This is very much that.
There's a lot of animal pelts.
Yeah, the redhead is the redhead Matthias, and Nina is Jon Snow.
Right.
Right.
Swippity swap.
Right. Totally get it.
Oh my God.
I mean, we got it.
All right, done.
Their story is done.
Yeah. We all know how that works out.
After they cuddle, they wake up. They notice that they're cuddling each other.
Spooning.
Yeah.
Spooning even.
And Matthias is like, no, thank you. Witch, get away from me. And she pokes at him a little bit more. And he talks about how you're not like Fjordan women. They're very modest and they're poised and they don't want to fight. And she's like, Grisha, people train together. Women are seen as equal. that doesn't sound like fun. And he's like, no, my people are happy. They're happy. And she's like, who are you trying to convince here? Have you asked any of those women?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Thanks, straight, cis, white dude. I'm sure you know exactly how all the women feel in Fjerda.
I did like that she was like, oh, I didn't know you were speaking for all Fjerdan women.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Exactly. Yeah, and she's just so funny with the comebacks. It's so good. I mean, when he hops out of bed, she says something like, I can feel just how much you hate sleeping next to me.
Boing.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Boner Town, USA. And then he says, it's not natural for girls to fight. And she says, it's not natural for someone to be as stupid as he is tall. But oop, there you are.
It is great.
I love her. She's great. She's like maybe becoming my favorite character in the show.
Yeah, I mean, I could, like, if all the other stuff wasn't happening and it was just like a show with them,
Mm-hmm.
I'd be happy with it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, I mean, obviously there probably need to be more, but this is fine.
More adventures.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really liking them. So the next part we get with them is they're on a hike. They need to continue to move towards town and civilization. And there's a part where Nina is like, you need to relax a bit, like slow down, relax. And it's starting to see that he doesn't want to, because she's like, what, are you afraid you'll like me?
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't say anything. And she's like, oh my God, you are afraid that you'd like me if we keep talking and cuddling. Ooh. Turns out he does like her.
Yeah.
She then asks him, is that so bad? And he's like, yeah, you are the opposite of everything that I know. But he kind of likes it.
You're a demon witch, and I'm falling for you, and I don't know if I'm falling for you because I actually like you, or if you're... What? Oh my God. Okay, everybody, we're recording. I just said Demon Witch, and then our TV turned on. Alexa looked for some sort of movie called Demon Witch.
That he's not lying, and it did bring up Demon Hunter. It's a horror movie. Great. Okay.
Very scary. Why did that happen?
I don't know, but I'm going to turn off the TV.
Okay, the TV hasn't been on in like months. It's fine. So he doesn't trust that he actually likes her.
Right.
He thinks maybe she's using her seductress heart rendering on him. And it seems that the Fjerdans really do see them as witches. It's almost like they're sirens. If you fall in love with them, they're going to kill you or something like that.
Yeah, she starts beguiling him.
Yeah.
She starts playing with him. She's like, yeah, I'm the seductress. Okay, I'm going to beguile you. Here's
Yeah.
me beguiling you.
And he finally just like blurts out, he's like, I do like you, okay? I do like you. And she says, is that so bad? He says, yes. She says, why? He goes, because you are horrible.
So sweet.
Yeah, the romance between the two of them, it's just bubbling over with beautiful words and kindness.
As they're kind of playing around and literally poking fun at each other, then a part of ice gives way and she's about to fall down. He's holding on to her, and there's a moment where she looks terrified because she's like, oh, I had the high ground, and now I literally need this person that thinks I'm a witch that was taking me to kill me to save me.
Right.
And it looks like he's kind of battling like, okay, I do like her. But do I just kill her now? And
how easy.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I do need her to keep me warm. But she does say, please. She's like, please help me. He ends up helping her. So
Yeah.
it's yay. Okay, good. Progress. We're
Absolutely.
making progress with these people.
Yeah.
Two enemies are falling in love. It's a story as old as time. The trope, but it works.
Tale as old as time.
Right. But that's why tropes work. They just
That's
do.
why they're tropes.
Exactly.
Because they happen so often. So this sort of ends with them like officially introducing themselves to each other. First, last name, giving the digits, find me on Facebook. And they
Like
know
people.
that, yeah,
Right.
they're in this together.
Mm-hmm.
And something that I thought was so interesting about this, she's like, I'm a human. Why can't you realize that I'm a human? And that goes back to like sort of what I was saying in the last episode, is that this is what's been sort of bred into him and what he's been taught his whole life. So for him to finally break through that is a big deal.
He's like, you ain't no human. You do
Yeah.
some magic witchcraft.
Oh, I like him Southern. That's fun.
I don't believe you.
You're done here then, never been the devil. So I guess I'm wondering where this is going to go. What happens if they do get to a major Fjordan town? Is he going to have to pretend that she's not Grisha?
Maybe, or they just won't go. I mean, this is the interesting part about their story, because this isn't what's in Six of Crows. It's told in past tense, and you get pieces here or there, but we're kind of living it out. So this whole thing is a prequel to the Six of Crows. So it's interesting to see where they go with this, because we also don't have the sixth crow, Waylon. So however he comes into play, and how does Matthias and Nina meet up with the rest of the crows?
Right, exactly. So, yeah, Waylon's just blowing stuff up someplace.
That's fine.
And these two are just lost in the tundra.
All right, so now into the bigger part of the episode.
Oof.
So we meet up with Ivan, Zoya, and General Kerrigan, and they're interrogating Arkin, the conductor. Arkin, he's being Arkin, and everybody was right to feel skeevy about him because he's even lying in this moment. But Ivan's right there. He's using his heart monitoring little science to know when he's lying. He's like the walking polygraph.
Yeah.
And General Kerrigan keeps records of everybody that passes through the fold. And he was like, you didn't come with anybody here that came to the Winter Fete. So who did you come with? Oh, that's right. You came with the crows. Like, I know you're lying. Why do you keep lying to me here?
He's like, I even know that you have another way through the fold because we have basically itinerary of everybody who came to the fete.
Right.
So you can't lie to us.
Yeah. He knows that he's the one that's been taking Grisha from the little palace to wherever they want to go.
Yeah. And in the last episode, we sort of heard him drop this little bomb that Nina was on a mission for him. And we hear here that the whole mission was that Nina was supposed to be coming across with the crows and the conductor. So she somehow got all of this information to Kerrigan already, but she never appeared on the other side of the fold. So she's just missing.
So I'm wondering if he was her mission, if the conductor was her mission. I mean, I think that's what it seems like in this scene, but I'm just curious because it's like, okay, I mean, Kerrigan got him anyway, so. Yeah, I know. We just kind of have to base it off of this one line and figure it out ourselves, I guess. Arkin finally reveals that he took a deal from that West Ravkan general, the guy that's been wanting to lead his own country, wanting to separate from the rest of Ravka and the General Kerrigan and all of that. And he double-crossed the crows, but took a deal from this guy for the same amount that the crows were working for to just kill Alina.
Murder.
Then Arkin, what he does, the sleazy guy he is, he's like, okay, I'll make a deal with you. I'll go find the crows and Alina. Why? I mean, I guess shoot your shot.
Well, that's exactly it. He's like, well, it's either I try this and they say yes or they kill me. So I might as well try. But it doesn't go so well.
Yeah. He ends up killing him. General Kerrigan kills him by conductor. End of him. He was a new character for the show. I thought he was a great addition. But, he's gone.
Okay, I have a question for you. How do you feel about Benjamin Barnes' acting when he's trying to be very angry?
I haven't seen him super angry yet. I've seen him more annoyed. He did raise his voice a little bit in this scene, but I mean, he's felt very one tone for me. Yeah, this entire time, like even when he's trying to be sweet with Alina, but I think that's the character, what it's supposed to be. So he's doing it great. I'm like, yeah, he's the Darkling. He's just kind of reserved and there.
Yeah, I feel like he gets a little like snarly in this. He's like, meow, meow, meow. He looks like an angry dog. So angry.
He's not a Yorkie.
I know your plans, conductor.
So the next scene, we meet up with Alina, and she is in that trunk still. So she's actually really smart in this. Her sun summoning, and it's not just a name. She literally summons many tiny little suns. And she uses a magnifying glass that thankfully she had in the pocket of the jacket that she stole. And she uses the sun to do with what terrible little kids did to ants.
Right. Light them on fire.
She heats up that lock, busts it out, and then she gets out of the trunk.
She also had scissors. She also had scissors on her.
I mean, that coat was great. It had everything she needed to get out of that trunk.
Lucky duck.
She then meets the crows. But it was a very short and sweet meeting because then she escapes.
Yeah, she blinds them with her sun summoning powers. Kaz and Jesper sort of fall to the side, but Inej really sort of locks eyes with her and has a moment where she could stop her, but instead she lets her go.
Right. And she's just like, go.
Bye,
and she kind of bows a little bit to her. I mean, it's who she is. She can't just give up that huge part of her So I'm liking that she's still keeping with it, even though she's murdering people now, which we know from the books that that's what she does. She has a couple bodies under her belt, but I'm glad that they're keeping with this. It's making the character interesting. It's part of who she is.
Right. And we really saw her beliefs become solidified when she saw Alina perform her sun summoning abilities at the little palace.
Exactly. Next, we see General Kerrigan, and he's putting his team together to get Alina back. And he's talking to Zoya, and he tells her, I need David, our favorite fabricator, and he wants the 2 Inferni twins.
R.I.P. one of them.
R.I.P. one of them. I don't think he knows that they died
I
yet.
guess not.
Because he's like, I need the Inferni twins, and nobody says anything.
We'll tell you later. He's in a mood.
So Zoya's back out of nowhere, and she starts talking to General Kerrigan about how she's like, well, what if she wasn't abducted and she left willingly? I don't know what that's supposed to do. How, again, and I'm just going to put this for emphasis, how much of these people that are working with General Kerrigan know his plan?
Mm-hmm.
Does Zoya know his plan, his ultimate plan? Because is he just telling her, like, she got abducted, so we need to do this, and of course they're willing to help?
Yeah.
Or does he know that he plans to use the amplifier to then puppeteer her and use her powers?
I think for Zoya, it's honestly a
She
way
hates her.
more shallow reason than that. Yeah, I think the thing is that she then goes into this whole big thing of being like, well, remember how much time we used to spend together? Remember when your table was messy, but your bed was neat? We would reverse it, AKA they would get down and dirty.
They'd tumble.
So for her, it's more about, well, I like Kerrigan. I played a part in his life before Alina got here. This is the only thing I could say is that, well, she never fit in here. Nobody really liked her. She didn't like it here. So maybe she left on her own.
Right.
And I guess she thinks that's going to pacify him. And he's going to be like, okay, yeah, I won't go looking for her, even though I've told everyone she's the savior of Ravka.
Right. He tells her, she offers to be like, oh, I'll help you relax, AKA tumbling. And he's dead in the face. He's like, I'll relax when Alina's back.
Ooh.
And I was like, yikes.
Bro, you better go.
That's not great.
And then she toots some wind and blows his papers all over the place.
Yeah. Awkward little angry scene there, Zoya. I like Zoya, and I know she has so much more story in the greater story of this, but I'm curious to see how much further they're going to go with her in this season.
Yeah. I have to admit, though, that I think that they're doing a better job with some characters than others when they're filling in the blank spaces of where they were in the book to where they are in the series.
Yeah,
like,
and what they're pulling from, too.
Right, exactly. So, like, someone like the conductor who they completely made up, I thought had a pretty good arc. Had a good backstory. We saw why they were doing the things, what their motivation was. Like, Zoya, they're trying to create this other thread for her, and it seems sort of weak.
Well, I feel like, you know, especially with Leigh Bardugo being, like, in the theater, like, you know, going to college and all of that. So she has these very, like, archetype characters and these tropes that she does in her stories, which, again, tropes work. I feel like Zoya, depending on how they change it or what they're going to do with her being this much in this first season, she might align with Alina at some point. It's like, oh, my enemy becoming my friend now.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean...
But like this, it's like, oh, I didn't like her because she was Shu. And then I didn't like her because Mal chose her over me. Now I don't like her because she's getting the attention. Now I don't like her because...
It just, yeah,
I mean... It's silly. It's just, you know what I mean?
It just seems like she's just getting everything that she wants. Like Zoya, she's like, I'm a squaller and I've been great at what I do. Why am I not getting everything I want?
Right.
When this orphan girl just comes in and takes everything away from me.
I'm just saying they could have made it a little more robust. I feel it feels weak.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully we get another season and then we get more with her. Because she does have big parts in Rule of Wolves, which I'm really wanting to get to. I have not gotten to that one yet.
Keep going.
I want more Zoya. I think she's interesting. So next we get, this is Alina after she escaped from the crows and she got out of that trunk. So she's in this town and we see a scene from earlier that she's walking around. It looks like she's going to steal some dragon fruit, but the vendor sees her and she's just like, oh, how much is this? And he's like, shoe money isn't good here. It's like, oh, that's right. I forgot. People
Racism.
Don't like shoe. I do think it's interesting that we haven't seen any other Shuhan people.
Yeah.
It's like
is she the only half shoe person in all of Ravka?
Well, it makes sense that they're not there because look how she's getting treated. But assume, if you see some Suli people, I just some more of them. Like if the Grisha don't really care, you would expect to see more.
I'm
Does that
with
make
you.
sense?
Yeah, I'm with you.
I would just like to see more.
Regardless, they hate him.
Right. Alina is walking around and she gets attacked by some racist assholes are trying to, get her into the house, do some probably unspeakable things.
Grossness.
They're gross. She uses her sun summoning abilities to blind them.
Whoops.
And run out of the city. She's running from her pursuers. She's trying to hide. And then none other than Mal finds her.
Yay! I was so worried. I was like, how are they going to get them back together? But Mal just kept on tracking.
Yeah, he just kept tracking her and ended up finding her. So yay, they're reunited. They end up playing catch up a little bit. And Alina confronts Mal about not writing her.
Yeah.
And he's like, I didn't get anything from you. I wrote you. So they can't really be mad at each other because they were writing each other and they just didn't get the letters.
I wrote you letters. No, I wrote you letters. No, I wrote you letters. I thought it was sort of funny, though, for Mal, because now he's sitting here being like, oh, okay, you didn't get the letters that I sent you where I professed my undying love to you. How do you, deal with that?
But she also did the same thing.
I know. So the both of them are sitting there being like, you were supposed to know that I was completely in love with you, but you don't anymore. Awkward.
Right.
Oh.
This is also where he kind of not resent. This is a little bit of book mail coming through a little bit where I see that he doesn't resent her, but he calls her out for cheating on the Grisha test when they were children. He's like, how long did you know? Why didn't you tell me? And she's like, I didn't know. He's like, but you cheated on the test. You had to have known. So whenever she made herself in pain, that way when the Grisha tested her, she didn't show her abilities.
Right.
And she's like, they were going to take me away from you, you dummy.
Yeah.
Like, why do you think I did it?
Right. The only thing I didn't know that there was anything specifically special about me. I just didn't want to leave you.
Right. Which is super sweet.
So sweet.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite parts of this scene is sort of the ending part of it where she finally says to him, well, thank you for finding me. And he says, always, I'll always find you.
Yay. Which is directly from the book. I remember reading that in the book and I was like, okay, they're super sweet.
It was so sweet.
Even though Mal this whole time in the book has been a dick. It's been fine.
Yes, but in the series, delightful.
Yeah.
And we've been waiting for this moment forever.
He's great. He's doing redemption for book Mal.
Totally.
And I love it.
He's paying for past sins he doesn't even know he committed.
Mal also tells her that he found the stag. And now she believes Bagra. Because he's like, yeah, I saw your drawing of the stag. It was you leading me to you. Like you telling me something. And she's like, no, Kiergan stole that from my journal.
Yeah.
He's lying.
My dream journal.
Bagra was right.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
All right, bruh. We're in this together.
We get another scene with the crows. And they're still looking for Alina. Kaz ends up confronting Inej about letting Alina go. And she's like, what was I supposed to do? And this is where I'm not... I liked Kaz up until this episode.
Interesting. Tell me why.
Episode, I'll get more into it later when him and Kiergan get into it. But I just he's the bastard of the barrel. Like he's supposed to be this person. Like I feel like they're not giving us what the book gave us, and he's just very, I'm not secure. I can't talk about my feelings with the Inej, and he's just like, there's just not much there for me. Does that make sense?
No, I see what you're saying, and I kind of have to. I do agree, and I want to take it a step further in the sense that we get to see Jesper's talent of being a sharpshooter. We get to see Inesh's talent of being the Wraith, of being an assassin. When it comes to Kaz, he just knows stuff.
Right. And I think that's my biggest thing with it. It's like he's supposed to be this big, he has the crowbar. He has some stake in the barrel. I mean, his nickname is Bastard of the Barrel. He's supposed to be this intimidating person. Yeah, he has a disability, but that it's just not part. I don't know.
But why don't we, in the last episode, we were like, how did he get in the palace?
Nobody knows.
We don't know.
That's his talent, is he just can do things and there's no explanation.
Right, which I find frustrating, though, as an audience member. You have to give me the tether to reality in order to make his actions believable.
Yeah, he's really leaning into like the cynical side in this conversation because he still doesn't believe that Alina is the sun summoner.
Even though he saw her summon the sun.
Right. He's like, they're just conning. They're great illusionists as he's doing some like coin trick in front of Inej. And she's like, how can you, like, what is wrong with you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, she can save everything. Like, this is beyond the job. And he was like, you had a job to do. If you're not going to do this job, well, then I guess, what are we going to do about it? And she's like, oh, are you going to take me back to Helene? And he's like, no, she'll just get the Crow Club. So now his fellow crows are knowing that their Crow Club has been given as collateral. And if they don't deliver, they lost it all.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of pressure on Inej.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't realize that. But also, Kaz, this woman just saved your life and killed someone for the first time for you. Maybe lay off.
Yeah, I mean, you got some issues, but you need to like work through some of those issues and maybe not on a job.
Okay?
Like, lighten up.
Things are happening. You're on the other side of the fold. It's serious.
We get another scene of Alina and Mao. They're still hiding. They're making their way west towards the fold.
Mm-hmm.
And Alina shows Mao her powers for the first time up close. And she uses them to keep him warm. And we do get another sweet interaction. I feel like Nina and Matthias and Alina and Mao were mirroring each other. They kind of were
Absolutely.
doing the same exact things in this, which
Mhm.
I thought was interesting. But in this, when she shows her her powers, she was like, do you not like that I'm Grisha? Do you not like me? Like, what's going on? You know, it's just more of like, there's a lot happened for
Yeah.
him. And he's coming to terms with it. And it's never been because of her.
Mm-hmm.
He just wants to protect her. He just wants her to be safe. And this just got way bigger.
Oh, yeah. You figure he was just a First Army guy, tracker, going on his daily life. And out of nowhere, his best lifelong friend is the savior of Ravka.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot to sort of deal with.
Yeah, when she's like, is it me? And he's like, you know, he delivers. In this, I feel like in this episode, he was delivering a lot of lines from the book
Mm.
that were like what made Mao a great character. And he's like, I'm sorry it took me this long to see you, but I see you now. And I think that like he's confessing a little bit what he wrote in his letters to her,
Mm-hmm.
but he was taken back when she said that because it's like, no, do you really think that of me? Like, do you think that I don't like you because you're Grisha, because of what you have to do? That's not the case.
Everybody's just so in their own heads about who they are and what other people are thinking about them.
Talk to each other.
Hello, you're finally together. It's time.
Right. So we meet back with the crows, and they need to keep moving. Outside, General Kerrigan is closing in on them. Jesper made this little trigger alarm in the carriage that they had because it was a Grisha carriage. They're like, if they track it, they open it, we'll hear it. Of course, the trigger goes off
Sure enough.
and the crows scatter. So they go outside, and now we can see that it's going to be a crows versus Grisha
Mhm.
moment. As the crows come face to face with Zoya, the Inferni twin? Question mark? Her twin's not there because Inej killed him.
Just the one.
And Ivan, they all decide to split. The twin of the Inferni that Inej killed, she notices Inej. I'm assuming they knew it was Inej because of the knife in the back of the guy's head.
Maybe it was a Suli knife,
There's literally no way to know.
and we never will.
We never will. So this next scene, there's 3 different fights that happen in this. And we're going to talk about Ivan versus Jesper, which I was super excited about. Jesper leads him to this, like, I guess, laundry facility, this Ravkan laundry facility where it was just rows and rows and rows of sheets hanging everywhere.
Maybe for a hotel,
maybe.
right?
It's a great backdrop for a little fight.
Mm-hmm.
Ivan can sense his heartbeat. He knows he's there. Jesper uses his nearing magical shooting abilities to shoot Ivan. They have bulletproof keftas. But Jesper is smart enough to shoot in the same spot multiple times because I guess that durist that made it didn't make it as durable as they thought. You just need to shoot him a bunch of times in the same spot.
Durestable.
Yeah. So he does do that. He wounds Ivan. He's about to kill him, but then a little laundry boy?
Yeah, okay, here's the story we're painting for the laundry boy. His parents are very poor. They work tirelessly washing these sheets all day. It's hot. He has nothing else to do. He has to be there. He fell asleep. He got left behind. And then here is a fight between a crow and a heartrender.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know what's going on, except there's guns. So he comes out of his hiding spot. Oh, no.
Don't kill him. I mean, where does he care?
You never going to see this kid again.
Yeah, what's this laundry boy care? But
send him out. Send him out.
I mean, I'm glad Jesper, even with a boy right there, he's like, okay, I'm not going to traumatize this kid even more than they're probably traumatized. I mean, if they're sleeping in a laundry facility in a basement, they probably shouldn't kill somebody in front of them.
Are you going to shoot him in the face?
Right. So, Inej is fighting against the Inferni. She's trying to seek out revenge for her twin brother that was killed. Inej eventually stabs her right in the rib, I would say, like right lungy, ribby area.
Right up in there.
And Inej tells her, and I was like, okay, I like this. She tells her, get to a healer, don't take it out because you'll bleed out in 30 seconds. Then this bitch continues to talk shit to her. And Inej is like, oh, okay, I'll take my knife back.
Yeesh.
Bye.
Yeah, she's like, I'm going to kill your mom. I'm going to kill your dad. I'm going to kill your siblings. I'm going to find you. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill your friends. So Inej is like, well, then I guess I'll just kill you now.
I literally gave you a choice.
She's like, I had a set. Let's just make it a set. I have the Inferni twins. I've done them both in. Now their parents will find me. Oh,
I mean, her bodies are stacking up.
Yeah.
So next we get to, I want to say, the worst part of this entire series so far. It's so fan servicey. It's completely unnecessary. It doesn't make sense. We get General Kerrigan versus Kaz. Yes, he's the bastard of the barrel. He is very sneaky.
Mm-hmm.
He can get it to the little palace and nobody knows how.
Mm-hmm.
But when General Kerrigan goes to her, it's very cliche. Where is she? He's like, I don't know where she is. General Kerrigan does his cut. He's about to cut Kaz. This guy, remember, he has a disability. How is he able to do a flash bomb? He's not the Wraith.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so, it was like, what was the point of that? It was so odd.
Because in reality, if this was really part of this, like the world, Kerrigan would have freaking enveloped him in shadow and took him captive and got it out of him where Alina is, or at least why they were there. But it's not part of this world. They have to get the crows away from Kerrigan because they're in a whole other series. So this is what I was saying before, where it's like they tried to bring all these characters together. They're trying to flesh them out, but the links that they're creating are weak.
Honestly, they could have went the Game of Thrones route, where it was like it all takes place in Westeros and Ravka in the same world, but they don't ever interact with each other. Game of Thrones, Daenerys didn't interact with any of the Starks until towards the end of the show.
Right.
So it's like you could have had a Crows prequel thing with like all of the Sun Summoner stuff happening in the background and then just had the Sun Summoner stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like, I feel like up until this point I was like, oh, this is cool. We get to see this. How are they going to do this? But now that they kind of met, it seems like, okay, how do we separate them?
Exactly.
Right. It is odd. Like, I just felt like this one was a little too blatantly fan servicey. It's like, oh, let's get two of everybody's favorite characters to quote unquote face off against each other. And then it was like, what did Kaz do again? Like, he has flash bombs now? Okay.
Yeah,
he's not Batman.
They could have just left.
Right.
The crows could have just gotten out of there.
So after that adrenaline rushing fight, we see Alina treating Mal's wounds. And she asks him how he got hurt, and he tells him how tracking the stag for you, they were in the Fjorden lands, and Dubrov and Mikhail got killed. So his best buds died. She don't like that.
Right, it makes her feel super guilty.
Right, I mean, she's like, oh, well, because of me? Great.
Right, here I am just existing, and people are dying for me. People that I really liked, in a sense,
right.
And I didn't even know it.
Right, and they plan to head west to the fold. Well, Mal thinks that. He's like, we'll get through the fold and then we'll figure it out from there. Light bulb goes off and she's like, no, we have to go back to the stag. Because if General Kerrigan knows the where, like even just remotely, he's never going to stop until he finds it. So we need to get that amplifier before he does, because if Bagra's right, that's not good. He does not need that amplifier.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to get there before him. So this is where it's clearly this episode was setting up for the end of this season. Because it's
Right.
like, oh, so now Mal and Alina need to go get the stag. General Kerrigan and his guys are going to go try to get the stag. The crows, I don't know what they're going to do. But that's where we're left with this. So now it's the race to the stag. We meet back up with the crows as they regroup after their fights. Inej is injured and can't ride a horse. So they spot a Grisha carriage and they're like, oh, let's do that one. Jesper opens up the carriage. It's none other than David. He's sitting there reading his book, minding his own business. Sweet baby boy David decides to chuck the book at Jesper to get away. He does get away, but they steal the carriage. The cool thing about this book is it looks exactly like the original cover for Shadow and Bone. So I was like, okay, little Easter egg dropped for the
Has
fans.
all that good filigree all over it.
Exactly.
Fun.
But I just like how Jesper was like, he threw a book at me.
That's my fighting style, David. I totally get it. You panic, you throw whatever you have in your hands, and you run.
Yeah. He did it well.
Mhm.
We then meet up with David talking to General Kerrigan and Ivan. Apparently, David can track Alina. Jenya gave Alina a ring made out of iridium.
Mm-hmm.
And if he gets in like a mile or so radius, he can track it. So he is good at tracking metals.
It's also like, I am very important. Thank you very much.
This is where we get probably one of the cutest moments in the series,
Yes.
and also the gift that has been spread throughout the internet of David raising his finger.
Yeah, little.
General Kerrigan's like, you don't need to raise. What do you want? And it was funny if you watch the scene again, because I rewound it a little bit. I'm like, what kind of metal is that? I don't know what metal that is. You see Ben Barnes in that scene. It looks like he's almost about to laugh. I don't know how many times they needed to do that, but it's like there's a slight itty bitty little smile there where he shouldn't have one. I'm like,
I feel like in the script, it must have said something like, David raises a hand, and the actor went buck wild.
He's like, David would never raise his hand.
No.
He would raise his finger.
Exactly.
So Mal and Alina are continuing their trek up north. Apparently, Alina gets very hungry now ever since using her powers. I'm very hungry all the time. I don't know where my powers are, but that's fine.
You have the sun summoner in you. It's your metabolism.
Where is it?
Hello. It's just going in your tummy.
So Mal does make some comments on her that she looks healthy, like, oh, it looks good on you. And this all goes back to the greater lore of the Grishaverse. If somebody suppresses their powers or pushes it down, it atrophies. They atrophy. They don't live as long as the Darkling does. The reason why the Darkling lives so long is because he's fed that power. He's always used that power, and they're inherently connected to like the life force of the world and nature and all of that. So feed off of each other.
Right.
Now that she's using her powers and she's fully accepted them, she's like, I'm hungry all the time. I'm going to live forever, and I'm glowing.
Berries are delicious.
Berries are delicious. In this conversation, Alina drops General Kerrigan's first name.
We were on a first name basis.
Yeah, Alexander. And Mal's like, who? And she's like, oh, General Kerrigan. I did some things at the little palace. He's like, I don't want to hear it. You're fine. We're good. Let's just keep going.
Yeah, let's make the rest of our trek awkward.
And the very last ending scene of this episode, General Kerrigan finds out that Alina is going after the stag because he's questioning that nasty, disgusting asshole that was trying to get Alina. And he was like, oh, the first army came too. And he's like, what did this guy look like? So he knows that Mal and Alina were in the same place. They're obviously going to go after the stag. And that sets up the last two episodes of this show. This episode was fine. It did what it needed to do.
Yeah. This episode was a through line for sure.
Right.
It was just the journey of getting us to the last two big things that are going to happen.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It's fine. Yeah. I honestly liked the Nina and
I was
Matthias
just gonna
stuff,
say that.
but everything else is fine. I mean, I still love the crows. I hope that they can continue them in a proper way
Yeah.
going forward.
I think that, so again, where does their story go now?
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure we're going to keep seeing them.
Oh, yeah. They're just stuck on the other side of the fold.
Oh, yeah. They don't have a conductor. Alina, girl, go help them. Like, they're not totally bad.
Unless she finally does go away with them at the end of this.
Maybe. Yeah. The second. Yeah. Actually, I could probably see where they're going. Where they're going with
He
this.
put the pieces together, folks.
I was like, oh, yeah, there's other books. And yep. Okay. Next episode, we're going to get episode 7. And then we have one more episode after that. And then we'll be done with Shadow and Bone.
I think I'm going to be very sad by the end of next episode. But, it's okay. We'll get there when we get there, y'all. But before we get there, let's get into the special segment. Of course, it is Badass to the Bone. So let us meet Georgina Reed, 1908 to 2001, who I am calling the Terrace Titan.
And my distant cousin.
Exactly. And is connected to you a little more than you might think.
Okay.
Spooky, spooky.
Is this some weird ancestry.com?
I did some digging. No. Today's badass hits close to home since it is related to a landmark not far from A Bite of headquarters.
Ooh.
Georgina Reed was born in Italy but grew up in America. She had a thirst for knowledge and was a talented artist. She was accepted into the Leonardo da Vinci Art School in New York at only 15 years old.
Get it.
Uh-huh. She graduated, got married, and ended up settling in Rocky Point, Long Island.
Oh.
Where she is told by her neighbors that their homes, this thing that she had wanted for so long, will soon be a part of the ocean due to erosion. So Georgina took it upon herself to create a form of terracing using plants, wood, cloth, and pipes to stop the water from eating away at the land around their home.
Whoa.
Really, really cool. At the same time, the same type of erosion was occurring the land around the Montauk Lighthouse to get eaten away. Yep. So it was getting so bad that the Coast Guard decided it was hopeless and they would let the lighthouse crumble into the sea.
Let it go. Let it sink.
Forget it. It's old. We don't want to deal with it anymore.
Forget about it.
But Georgina had other plans. In 1970, she decided to get a group of volunteers together to implement her terracing technique. By 1985, at the age of 77, she finished her work and saved the monument. She was even honored by President Reagan. So thank you so much, Georgina, for being a genius badass and for saving the Montauk Lighthouse.
Yay, that's cool. Montauk is beautiful. That lighthouse, I'm glad it's still there. Thank you.
Noah and I have a picture at the top of that lighthouse.
We do. And Rocky Point is not far from us.
Mm-mm.
Wow.
How
Close
about
to home.
that? Our own badass.
Nice.
Right.
All right. Till next time, guys.
Bye. Thanks for listening to A Bite of. Artwork and editing by our own Noah. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Instagram at A Bite of Pod and on Facebook at A Bite of. If you have questions, recommendations, or just want to say hi, you can email us at abiteofpod@gmail.com. You can find us on all podcast platforms. Please be sure to rate and review to spread the word. Hope you join us next time on A Bite of. Bye.